Welcome, everybody. This is I'm Senator Chip Curry, and I chair the Innovation Development, Economic Advancement, and Business Committee. We are convened today for the purpose of hearing a briefing regarding BioMaine. And then we will also on today's agenda, we will also be going through our committee analysts will be walking us through the remaining GEA steps, Government Evaluation Act requirements for the departments that we have oversight, and also for our quasi independent government reviews. And so with that, I would ask that let's ask all the members to go ahead and introduce themselves. Representative Geiger, would you kick us off?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would. Good morning, all. My name is Representative Valley Geiger. I represent District 93, Rockland and Owl's Head.
I don't see Representative Andrews this morning. I'm Sarah Pepworth. I represent House District 133, which includes Blue Hill, Brooklyn, Brooksville, Castine, Sedgwick, and Surrey.
I think I'm next. I'm Representative Jack Ducharme, representing House District 111, Madison, Norwich, Walk-End, Solon.
Good morning, Maine. I'm Representative Sue Austin. I'm here in my hometown of Gray. I also have portions of the lovely towns of Raymond and Casco, and I've been privileged to have the entire town of Frye Island. And I must say that per your previous discussion of the weather, I want to share with you that I think my emails finally broke through the fortress over there on the hill at the National Weather Service, and they decided to send us some lovely higher temps. Thank you, folks over there.
Representative Tavis Hassan first, representing House District 81, Winthrop, Reedfield, and part of Monmouth, and totally fine with temps below 30 as long as you want.
Good morning, everyone. Reagan La Rochelle, House District 86, which is part of Augusta.
Good morning, I'm Representative Tiffany Roberts, representing House District 6, which is a majority of North Berwick and South Berwick, and I'm your House Chair.
And again, good morning, everybody. I am Senator Chip Curry, and I represent Senate District 11, which includes the 26 rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County. With us today in support of the committee are our committee clerk, Eva Reed, and if anyone is having technical difficulties and needs to reach out to her, she can be reached at 287-4880. And also our committee analysts, who we will see more often in a little bit, Ms. Rachel Olson from the OPLA. And I've just blanked on what OPLA stands for, Office of Policy, Legal.
Office of Policy and Legal Analysis.
Thank you very much. We go to acronyms, and then that's what it is. So with that, Ms. Reed, if you can go ahead and bring Agnieszka Carpenter into the panelist group. And was there anyone else, if there's anyone else that's in the attendee list that was expecting to present to the Biosciences on the Bioscience Association, raise your hand. Nope. So excellent. Well, welcome. Is it Agnieszka? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Almost. It's Agnieszka.
Agnieszka.
Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome to the committee, and the floor is yours for a briefing on the Bioscience Association.
Thank you so much, Senator Curry. Yes, so I'm Agnieszka Carpenter, and I'm the Executive Director for BioMaine, and I apologize for having a name that's difficult to pronounce. I wanted to start by thanking Senator Curry and Representative Roberts and also all of the members of the committee for having me here. It's really nice to see you, and thank you for all the introductions. And so I'm here to present on the Bioscience Association of Maine, and just to draw some attention to the bioscience industry in Maine. And if it's possible, I'd like to share my screen. Is that okay?
Ms. Reed, have we set up screen sharing? Go ahead and try, and we'll see whether it works.
Okay. Second.
We're not yet. Okay.
No, it's going to work. Just
Okay.
Zoom being wonky as always when you need it. Okay. Can everybody see it? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So as I mentioned, my name is Agnieszka Carpenter, and I'm the executive director for BioMaine. BioMaine is the Bioscience Association of Maine. We are a trade industry group devoted to life sciences here in the state. I think some of you may be familiar with our organization, but maybe not everybody. So we represent over 220 members, and they're mostly biotech companies, medical device manufacturers, research institutes, and service companies. And our mission is to advance bioscience in the state of Maine, and we do it through promoting STEM education, events, scholarships, and we definitely live within the economic development world and also workforce development. Those are the two big areas of focus for us. And so I wanted to start my presentation with a little bit of an unconventional image. This will be an image, or maybe a set of images, of what people think of Maine if they're not in Maine, right? So people out of state. And those could be maybe blueberries, maybe beautiful beaches. This is Old Orchard Beach, the rocky coast of Maine, a cabin in the woods by the lake, where I'd love to be there right now. The fishing industry, the lobster, maybe skiing right now, and then maybe a moose walking in shallow waters. And while all of these images are true, and we love them, and we love to think of Maine as vacation land, there is a side of Maine that we see, and what we see in Maine is over 400 life science companies that are innovative, that bring in a high level of tech and innovation. And I know these logos are small, but you'll probably recognize some of them. Our largest employers are IDEX in Westbrook and Jackson Laboratory in Bar Harbor, but we work with all kinds of companies, large and small, some that people maybe not think about immediately. We have Elanco or Northeast Laboratory in Winslow, Baker Company in Sanford, or Lonza in Rockland. As I said, more than 400 companies that employ almost 8,000 people in the state of Maine. What we're also seeing is headlines in newspapers about the life science industry. And so when the pandemic first started, that really came to life. And we saw that a company in Scarborough, during the times when there were no tools to measure the pandemic, no vaccines, no really any structure or management of what to do, we saw that Abbott in Scarborough developed a diagnostic test in record time, and brought it to the market and got it FDA approved and scaled up manufacturing, hiring so many new employees. We also saw Puritan Medical Products in Guilford, which turned out to be one of the world's top 2 manufacturers of nasal swabs. So as you probably know, they got a federal contract, quadrupled their business, and generally became this well-known company in the world. Another one was IDEX, pivoting towards human diagnostics from animal health company, Jackson Lab, producing a mouse that could be infected with COVID, whereas previously we didn't have a mouse model that could have that capability. So the pandemic has really shown that Maine has that innovative side, and that it's making a huge, huge impact globally. The other thing I wanted to show you when we think about Maine is the huge amount of opportunity that exists within the life science sector. And I really like this second headline here. This is from New York Times. A 100 million bet that vacation land can be a tech hub too. This is obviously talking about the Rue Institute, with Dave Rue investing $100 million into this institute that's creating so much buzz and collaboration and new companies being interested in Maine. This is just one story, but there are so many more. And, you know, we're seeing in the news that life sciences is one of the state's fastest growing industries. But, you know, there are headlines in the newspapers, but we actually, as BioMaine, know it as a fact because we collect this data and we analyze it, and then we put it into a report. So I just brought a couple stats with me to show you what kind of an impact we're talking about. So if you want to take a look at this one, this is about the salary. Right now, the average salary for a life science employee in Maine is $115,450. That's a really high paying job. And we're talking about, you know, postdoc, PhD scientists, but also manufacturing jobs. And within the last 15 years, the average earnings for Maine life science jobs more than doubled. That's unprecedented. Also, this, you know, this average salary of $115,000 compared to all other industries is very, very high. The other stat I wanted to bring your attention to is this one. So that talks about the job industry growth. And we're seeing that over the past 5 years, the life science jobs in Maine have risen by 18%. Obviously, you know, we put some other New England states here. Massachusetts is the number one biotech hub in the world. So needless to say, their job growth has been higher. We're just trailing behind New Hampshire a little bit. New Hampshire's jobs have been 20%. But then compared to Vermont, Connecticut, or Rhode Island, Maine is actually doing really well. And then compared to all of the United States, that job growth has been at 11%. We're at 18. So that just proves that Maine has a lot to offer and that this industry is growing very rapidly here. Only 2 years ago, that 5 years growth was at 14%. Now it's 18%. And we're seeing that upward trend with every year that we do this report. This one in the left bottom corner talks about a job multiplier. So for the life sciences industry in Maine, the job multiplier is 2.86. Job multiplier is a little bit of an odd economic indicator, but it basically means that for every one job created in the life sciences industry, there are 1.86 jobs created in some other industries. So for example, if you take Abbott and their testing device that they ramped up production back in, I don't know, May of 2020, that device is not really manufactured in Scarborough by Abbott. It's manufactured in Gray by a contract manufacturer. So those types of initiatives create more jobs elsewhere in other industries. And that's another reason why Maine life sciences industry is so crucial. And then some other numbers here, $1.5 billion created in the life sciences industry goes to Maine's gross regional product. And then 5% of all Maine's exports are the life sciences products. Okay, so we talk to companies from out of state and people who are interested in Maine, maybe biotech professionals and scientists who want to move here, and they want to, you know, they call us and they say, hey, can you explain to me what I can find in Maine? Where do I look for jobs? So when we talk to those companies, I like to think of 6 different reasons to believe why Maine has a great amount of opportunity and why it's a great state to move in for a life science company. And I wanted to start with this one here, value. So, you know, we have affordable land, workforce, and real estate compared to other states. We have proximity, so we're very close to Boston. We have really good transportation hubs like the airport or buses and trains. It's really easy to get to Maine. And for life sciences, that's very important because, as I mentioned, Boston is the #1 biotech hub in the world. And so being so close to that brings in a lot of opportunity. Quality of life, I don't think I need to explain that. It's become also very, very apparent with the pandemic and the influx of people coming here exactly for that. Industry impact, I mentioned that the industry that we already have here is doing very well. It's growing organically on its own. And with every year, that job growth is higher and higher. And then workforce, I can't stress that enough. You know, we have talented workforce within that space, workers who are adaptable, who have great work ethic, and also a low turnover rate, which is very important for companies that put a lot of effort and money into training and making sure that their employees are skilled in what they need. And then I left this one till the end because that's a cherry on top, and I call it access. And, you know, Maine is a unique state in that it's very accessible. We have a great network of entrepreneurial support system. We have organizations such as MTI or BioMaine or a lot of others, but also in terms of local government and the Maine legislature and the governor's office, those institutions are just so accessible. They're just one phone call away, and it's very, very easy to communicate. So I also want to thank you for that. But, you know, when you look at all of these 6 reasons to believe, there are other states that are competing for this business, many of them in Northern New England. And so what we have here in Maine is very special, I think, and it's the seed that's very strong, the seed that's sprouted. And in order for that tech hub to grow here, we need to nurture it and nourish it and water it. And as much as we, the economic development organizations, can do it to some capacity and, you know, in some ways, we do need your partnership. And we really would like for the Maine legislature and for this committee in particular to recognize this and to look forward, to look into the future. And, you know, if there's any bills that have to do with STEM education support or funding, our companies really rely on MTI funding, a lot of them. And so it's very important that we get steady funding for that. And the other one is business incentives and tax incentives, maybe down the road in the future, specifically designed for life science companies. And that pretty much concludes my presentation. I wanted to keep it brief, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or maybe have some follow-up conversations later. You know, I listed my email here. Our website is biomaine.org. And I can probably stop my share.
Thank you. And thank you very much for your presentation. I see that Representative Pebworth has a question. Go ahead, Representative Pebworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Carpenter, for being here today. I am a huge fan of BioMaine, in particular via the coffee houses or the coffee hours. And so one, I implore you to keep doing them, at least some of them remotely. And I would like you to encourage the committee to join them as well by telling us how they can do that.
Absolutely. So, you know, our organization really runs on events. We do a lot of events, usually at least one a month. And they're typically in person, they're typically networking events. But when the pandemic started, we had to pivot a little bit and figure out what to do. And we tried a couple different formats with networking events online. And it turned out that people really cannot network properly on Zoom unless it's maybe 2 or 3 people. So instead, we introduced this new program called the Virtual Coffee Hour. And it's once a month, 1 hour, in the morning at 10 a.m. You know, you're welcome to bring a coffee. And then we have 4 engaging speakers that talk about what's new in Maine. They talk about their research, new companies, entrepreneurs, and we try to keep it interesting for everybody. Those are open to the public. The easiest way to attend is just to maybe subscribe to our emails, and then you get all those dates. The next one is actually on March the 3rd, and it's going to be March the 3rd at 10 a.m. We're highlighting the Maine Science Festival in that one. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that event. It's an event in Bangor for families, for kids, really, really engaging. So we have Kate Dickerson, who's the director there, talking about the festival. We have some of the speakers at the festival. We also have a new company out of Maine Medical Center, a startup company talking about her developments. So this is a really easy and accessible way to learn about bioscience, and it's only 1 hour a month. So thank you so much, Representative Pebworth, for attending those and highlighting that to other committee members.
Thank you. You'll see me again.
Representative LaRochelle.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Ms. Carpenter. I had jotted down the note you made about was that the average salary or a average salary in the industry is $115 And I was just intrigued because obviously you could see that that growth was significant over the past 15 years or so. And so I was wondering, do you see that as a result of current companies getting bigger and adding layers, or more companies coming into the state? And how can we encourage that? I know you mentioned maybe some incentives in the future, but even how can we continue that trend?
Yeah, absolutely. So the answer to that question is not super simple. I mean, we also monitor, as I said, other states in New England, and we're seeing that upward trend in all of the states. So it's not just Maine. So, Maine has to stay competitive, and the companies here have to stay competitive, because if they want the workers to stay here and if they want to attract new talent, they need to pay at least or almost the same as New Hampshire and Vermont and the states around us. Obviously, in Massachusetts, that salary is actually doubled. So not 115, but over 200,000. But at the same time, the cost of living in Massachusetts is so much higher. So it's understandable. And I think a lot of, recent graduates in Maine are really drawn to Massachusetts because they're looking, I can make 100 here, but I can make 200 there. But then they don't see that 200 just doesn't mean the same. And one trend that we're seeing is that those workers often come back here and look for jobs here a couple years after they're fed up with the traffic in Boston. And in terms of what we can do here, we can definitely incentivize companies for different things. Other states, such as Rhode Island or Massachusetts, they incentivize companies for creating new jobs. So if a company creates, say, 100 new jobs, then they get some of that investment back. Or just, introducing tax credits and other incentives that would make Maine more attractive, especially compared to the neighboring states. That would definitely bring that salary even higher, I believe.
So it's important to monitor what our neighboring states are offering for incentives, so that we can at least be offering what they're offering to maintain that competitive level, I guess.
I think that would be a very good idea. And we actually do that. I'd be happy to. I have some things printed out here because I was looking at it just to see what other states are doing. We're looking at, obviously, Massachusetts had a very, very intentional effort a couple years ago, investing $10 billion into this industry. But we're also looking at Rhode Island, North Carolina, just to learn some lessons and see how that could be leveraged and what kind of programs could be introduced to really let this industry grow, and just to speed it up a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Chair recognizes Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Curious as to what is being done to promote this field with high school and young or new entries into college.
Absolutely. So that's actually something we do, and I didn't mention that much because my time was limited, but we at BioMaine have a couple different initiatives with K through 12 schools as well as colleges. One of the things we do that's really cool, and I know Representative Austin knows about this, it's something called Maine Bioscience Day, and we do it every November, where we send volunteer scientists to middle schools all over Maine to talk about their jobs, to talk about their employers, so that those kids at middle school are already exposed, and they see all these people who have cool jobs in Maine, and maybe their preconception that there aren't any good high-paying jobs in Maine is changed. And we found that we have to start this in middle school, because high school is often too late, because in high school they might have already decided what they want to do. But in 2021, we reached over 7,000 students with this initiative, because we're now able to do it remotely as well. And the teachers, especially in the more remote areas in Maine, are very appreciative that their kids get the opportunity to be exposed to real scientists who, even if it's on Zoom, they bring in a hands-on activity and they inspire kids, and it's just something different, and something that the students remember. And the overarching goal of an initiative like this is workforce development, and it's to make sure that maybe we capture some of this talent, and that talent will think about Maine as their place to live and work. Thank you for the question.
Representative Geiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for this presentation. I didn't know a lot about BioMaine, and it was great. I actually screenshot a couple of your slides, and I will definitely sign up for the coffee. I wondered what the headwinds are. I know I'm hearing a lot from different companies in my area about the difficulty finding housing. Recently, our local hospital had several physicians who rescinded their contract to come here because they could not find housing. I'm wondering if that is a headwind for the BioMaine industry, and if there are any others.
Yeah, housing is definitely an issue, especially in certain areas. If you've been following, stories out of Jackson Labs, that's something that they always struggle with, being in Bar Harbor, and they've put some investment into creating some additional housing for their employees, since they employ over 1,700 people now. But in other areas, it's maybe not housing so much, but this is not just for bioscience industry. I think most of what companies are saying is talent, recruiting people, they want skilled workers. And for bioscience, it can be especially challenging because they're looking for a very specific skill set. I mentioned there are over 400 companies here within that space, and a lot of them have a very, very specific niche where they just need workers who will have the kind of skill set that's not necessarily taught at schools here. So one way to leverage that is we talk to colleges a lot, and we work on creating training programs that really correspond to the needs that those companies have. Because it's one thing to try to attract employees from other states, but we really need to focus on what we have here and make sure that the graduates here have the kind of skill set that's needed. And thank you for taking screenshots of my presentation. I'd be happy to share the whole presentation later as well.
Thank you, and that would be nice to receive the presentation. Can you speak a little bit further about, about the, let's say you're working with a high school sophomore or junior, and they want to go in this field, but they're not really sure what part they like. They like life sciences. What would you encourage them to pursue? What degrees would you encourage them to pursue? What skills do they need to gain?
Yeah, so I mentioned we work with middle school students, but we also work with high school students, not as much as middle school. We have a competition for high school students. Any high school students that do bioscience research, they present their posters, they get exposed to the industry, they can talk to the mentors or higher ed institutions, but that's just one little piece of it. We're really working on creating a new program for high schoolers. We want to do an event. It's just very difficult to do now during the pandemic, but we really want to do a career exploration day, which would be a little bit like a career fair, but not really. And it would be geared towards undergrads and high school students, where we will bring the employers and have booths. And then those employers can talk to those types of students who are interested in life sciences. And, there are 18 colleges in Maine that offer life science degrees. So it's pretty robust, and those could be very specialized, like bioengineering at UMaine. The Roux Institute now has really great graduate programs, but also community colleges play a really, really important role here. And we here at BioMaine, especially like Southern Maine Community College, they have a great biotechnology program that directly feeds into IDEX, Abbott, and all the large companies who need workers here fast.
Gotcha. So there is a level below the bachelor's level that you're hiring in. And so a certificate and associate's level or workforce training around research lab processes are those the skill sets that you're looking at?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, maybe when people think bioscience, their mind immediately goes to a PhD, scientist who's working on something super sophisticated. But really, those large employers, especially, they need people with associate's degrees who have basic wet lab skills, technicians. There could even be programs created in high schools, such as, like bridge programs, where the high school graduate is already skilled to do some basic work, and then they'll get further training. So this industry hires all kinds of employees, from very basic manufacturing jobs through, accountants, marketing. They have all kinds of departments. It's not only scientists. So it's important to keep in mind.
Representative Austin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agnieszka, thank you for being with us. You have no idea how nourishing your presentation is today. As you know, we've been working from afar, and to have such good news, because this is incredibly good news and a great update. And so it just feels like, oh my, we needed it. I'm so glad our committee is hearing it. And I appreciate all the technical upgrades that you have shared that has happened within this sector. I would love to have those slides, and I will share with the committee that yes, BioMaine did come out to I think it was our middle school, Brandon Gloucester Middle School, and I'd like to, nudge my folks in the entire district to take advantage of this. So maybe I'll have to do a little more, get my megaphone out, but. You mentioned Abbott, the cooperation and the engagement between Abbott and Ennoconn, which is here in Gray. Can you repeat that one sentence? Because I'd love to have that little nugget, knowing and working with both. I just want to hear that little piece, unless it's something that you can't share. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I can say, so what I can say is that I know that Ennoconn, it's a company, it's a contract manufacturer. So they basically make devices for other companies. So they have a lot of different contracts, but I think I can share that 80%, that's what they told me, 80% of everything they do is for the life science industry. Yeah. And we can only guess, let's leave it at that a lot goes to Abbott and IDEX, and then a lot of other companies, not necessarily only in Maine. And so, yes, I was talking about that in the context of the job multiplier. So for every one job in the life sciences industry, there's almost 2 jobs created elsewhere. There's so many stories of that, not just that one. The bakery company has recently done something with Maine Health, because the COVID patients needed some kind of enclosure. I don't know if you're familiar with this project. It's called Cape Technologies. So they created this almost like a tent, and it was a collaboration between Maine Health, little startup company, the bakery company down in Sanford, and then a plastics manufacturer who had to create the plastic pieces. And so there's different industries that get pulled into those projects, and it's really great to see. And it's what we like to measure success with, because it's not only about the bioscience companies, but all the other industries that are contributing. And also, Representative Austin, thank you so much for your kind words. And yes, we have been to the Great Gloucester School a couple of times already doing Maine Bioscience Day.
Well, I think the reason I brought up Ennoconn here in Gray, they do unbelievable work, and they are an unsung company. They fit the profile exactly of what you're saying. The jobs and their location is, I mean, they have put a lot into their entire business plan, if you right down to the physical presence. But people just don't realize that. And I guess I've always said, let's just get the good news out there, because especially in a time like this, you stop and think what those companies, that all of those that you have mentioned, think what they did. And I'm wondering, this will be my very last question. Have we been promoted as a state that has given so much to the cause and the hopefully answers and care of COVID? As you said, Purington and Ennoconn and Abbott and IDEX, and it goes on and on. Does the world out there realize they must? Those in that specificity, maybe they're the ones that realize, but that's really good news for our state to perform so well.
Absolutely. Well, I think within the life sciences sector, nationally and globally, yes, absolutely. We try to, blow that horn and tell everybody we know, especially when we talk about Abbott, because Abbott is such a big company that's national, but people just don't realize that that test or those tests have been entirely developed and manufactured in Maine. It's the Maine team's success. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands this. And yes, there's definitely been some coverage in Maine, and we worked really hard with our PR person to make sure that, it's in all of the publications here. And we tried outside of Maine. It's, not always easy, but I'm hoping that this success will trail and keep trailing. And, as you mentioned, Senator Austin, it's definitely a time of bad news, and COVID has been such a difficult thing for everybody, but for the bioscience industry in Maine, maybe it hasn't been so bad. It's created a lot of jobs and a lot of great reputation for Maine.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon, somewhere, somehow.
And I see Representative Hassenfuss, you have a question. Representative Hassenfuss, did you have a question?
No, I just inadvertently left my.
Okay, great.
My apologies. And then I was
All
on
right.
mute.
All right. I think that wraps up all of our questions, and definitely the committee would appreciate the slides. And I thank you very much for reaching out and educating us on this sector, this really critical sector in Maine. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again for having me. I really hope to work with you. Good luck with this session, and we hope to see you more. And thank you for such a warm welcome. I'm really appreciative.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
And Ms. Olson, I think you are facilitating the rest of the day through the GEA and quasi reviews, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I'll just add as well, if the representative from BioMaine would like to send me a copy of her presentation, I would be happy to distribute it to the committee. Great. And to post it on the web. Okay. Well, with that, I suppose it's up to the committee a little bit, but we have GEA discussion and hopefully coming to a committee consensus. And as the deadline for that is approaching, and then also the quasi-independent agency reviews, we do have individuals from those agencies, both the GEA and quasis, in the attendee list. There were a couple of individuals or agencies that were not able to join us this morning. Representative from the Washington County Development Association and Loring Development Association Authority, were not available this morning. But we do have some individuals available who can answer questions. So I will defer to the committee on which they would like to pursue first, GEA or quasis.
If we have people waiting for, let me take a look in the participant list. So they're from both, correct?
Yeah, we have, yes, both.
Okay. Can we start with the GEA?
Sure, absolutely. Happy to do so. So we received the reports and presentations, which we heard on January 22nd, or excuse me, on January 25th. We had the presentations from both the Maine Development Foundation and from the Department of Economic and Community Development of their program evaluation reports pursuant to the Government Evaluation Act. From that presentation, I received no requests from the committee for follow-up, and I don't believe any requests were made to the agencies either. So at this point, the committee is tasked with deciding whether or not they think either agency is acting within its statutory authority and the degree of success in which the agency is meeting its goals or objectives, and statutory and administrative mandates, any statutory and administrative mandates. So that's where we are currently standing. And as I said, I wasn't directed to bring back anything in addition. I've begun the draft letters, so I'm looking to the committee for their input. What would you like to say?
Why don't I think I would start the question, does anyone wish to have anything less than their a message that states that they are operating within their statutory authority and they are demonstrating success of their mission? Is anyone advocating for anything less than that? Representative Hassenfuss.
I think the only thing, and I'm not advocating for something else, but the thing that appeared to me is that, and they explicitly stated in the report, is MDF said that there was one area in statute that they have consistently been unable to meet. I don't think, I'm not concerned that they haven't been able to meet that. I have a question to the committee as to whether or not we should, mention something saying we're aware that you have been able to meet this and we're not concerned, or if we just, reference other members of the legislature and say, this is in statute, we probably ought to change it because, just not capable of meeting that. I'm happy, and I mean, doing nothing is fine, doing something is fine. I just wanted to flag it, see what the committee wants to do about that. MDF already flagged it for everybody and is well aware of it, and works it, but open that up for discussion.
And I can put that section of their report on the screen if people would like to take a look at it.
Go ahead, please.
So as Yellow did mention during the presentation, Mr. Breen, on page 31 of the report, they indicated that in the past 7 years and perhaps never, the Maine Economic Growth Council has not fulfilled the section described here in Title 10, Section 929-C, and that it doesn't have any capacity to do so without additional substantial appropriation. They also added that they didn't perceive that such a step is currently valuable to relative to the expertise that is currently being supplied by these agencies. But if the committee continues to consider it as necessary or valuable, that there would need to be additional dialogue around implementing it, as well as any additional appropriations to make it necessary. And so the section here is really related to creating budgetary recommendations. So the Maine Economic Growth Council would work with the Office of Innovation, as well as the Maine Innovation Economy Advisory Board, in reviewing the Innovation Economy Action Plan. And then they would develop specific annual budgetary recommendations to support the plan's visions and goals. And this would include any specific bonding and general fund appropriation investment levels. And they're supposed to submit that according to statute by June 1st of each year. And the council to consider that information and for review by the governor and this committee. So that was what Mr. Breen put forward to the committee as a portion of their statute that they're not currently able to do.
Does anyone else need the document up? I don't see anyone. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yep.
I've got multiple screens up here and I'm missing. I'm not there. I'm seeing people again. Representative Hassenfuss, is your hand still up, or do you have an idea of how you want to respond on that or address that?
Yeah, that's a new hand up, Mr. Chair. I guess my question, Rachel, is, and I don't have the in front of me title, the economic action plan per title, so and so, thus and so. Does that exist, or is that something that's not being done either? What was prescribed in that statute that we did not have in front of us there. You're on mute.
So now I owe some money in the mute jar. Sorry about that. You're referring to the Innovation Economy Action Plan described in Title
Yes.
10, Chapter 107D.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is still, nothing in the statute jumps out at me to say that it's maybe not occurring, but I mean, the same could be said for the one we're looking at. So I don't know currently where this is standing. You'll have to forgive me. I know that Mr. Breen could not be with us this morning. I'm not sure if there's a representative from MDF in the attendee list.
I see a
They
hand
are.
that's going up.
Miss Bowie, I believe.
And Eva, if you could. Is
And
there-
actually, Brian Whitney also has his hand up, and he may be able to offer some
Great. If
information
both
on
of
this
them-
as well.
if both of them could be brought in.
And my apologies to Lori Bowie. Mr. Breen did tell me you were going to be on the attendee list, so my apologies. I had forgotten the name.
And Ms. Reed, are we shifting? Let's see if we can do that. Promote the panelists and promote the panelists. There we go. Welcome, Ms. Bowie.
Hi, thank you. I know that Yellen had shared with me after our meeting presentation a few weeks ago that he did not feel that this was something that needed action. He just simply felt it was important to raise that it is an area that is not meeting, the Growth Council is not able to meet that requirement. So he wasn't advocating that there be a change, that it be addressed, but he wanted it to be clear to the committee.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Is Representative Hassenfuss?
Yeah, I guess my question is it worth this committee write our letter expressing to the rest of the legislature that this area of statute is not currently being met, and we need some follow up from Rachel to make sure that this is the case, but in that the action plan in Title 10 is not being done either, and we may want to consider just terminating that, putting on determine that language, or do we just do nothing and say we think MDF is taking care of it, they know it's there, they flagged it for us, we've confirmed we're okay with doing that. So I guess I want to make that decision as a committee on our own, or do we want to ask the rest of the legislature what they think?
Is anyone opposed to including, Mr. Whitney, if you want to jump in on that, I saw your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the committee know that the Maine Innovation Economy Advisory Board's action plan was last, it's a 5-year plan. It was last done in 2017. So we're on target to get another one done this year.
Okay. So it does still exist.
It exists. The last one was 2017 and it's a 5-year plan. So this is the year for the new plan.
Excellent.
And there is some work being done on it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's helpful to know.
And so it's basically just MDF is not kind of doing their portion is that right? Am I understanding that right? So the plan is put in place per Title 10 thus and so, but MDF is not incorporating that into a budgetary recommendation. Is that what's happening? Am I understanding that correct?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Mr. Whitney, is that
Anybody
your
who can
understanding
answer.
of their engagement with you on the action plan?
Yeah, so I think, the Maine Innovation Economy Advisory Board puts the action plan together has languished a bit. And there are some new appointments being made. It was reinvigorating. It was a recommendation of the 10-year state plan, as well as the Economic Recovery Committee's recommendations. So there is some activity involved with that. I'm sure to the extent that MDF hasn't been able to fulfill their obligation, it's probably not their fault. It's probably due to the fact that MEAB hasn't really met, and it's languished over the last few years, probably more.
Is anyone opposed to us just recognizing that they have not been able to recognize that they've not been able to address this part of the statute and encourage a future legislation to look at adjusting statute? Is anyone opposed to that being part of the letter? I'm seeing no opposition to that. Okay. Chair recognizes Representative Pebworth. Representative Pebworth.
I want us to address it in some way. And if that is flagging it for the 131st, that's great. That's sufficient for my mind.
Okay. Welcome, Representative Bernard and Representative Searway, or Senator Searway, and we are into the GEA evaluation for MDF right now. Do we have any other? So where we stand right now is we're communicating with Rachel in terms of drafting a letter, and thus far where we stand is to recognize that their MDF is well within statute and they demonstrate success in achieving their mission. And recognizing the one area that they brought to light that they are not able to achieve through their capacity, and encourage the future legislation to adjust statute accordingly. That's roughly the message. Is anyone believing that there should be something else in the response? Representative Hasselquist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I think I want to make clear that this is not in any way, saying that something should be done or should have been done differently. It's just recognize that there's an area of statute that, we might want to take a look at in the future as legislators.
Yep, excellent. Burr under the saddle, as just recognizing the reality. Excellent. So this feels that this does not need a vote, as I understand, Ms. Olson. You're taking your prompt and you will write the letter and then bring it back and we will go from there. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And unless anybody on the committee was in significant opposition to what the rest of the committee was putting forward, where then I might indicate that it wasn't a majority or some portion of the committee felt differently.
Okay, and members will see the letter.
Yes, I'll bring a letter back for review, similar to language review.
Very good, thank you. Let's move on to Representative Austin.
Thank you, Senator. Just one last thought. I don't know as I remember or recall the exact wording, but would it be appropriate to add in that some sort of consideration of a job done during really tough times, that it's appreciated that anybody that was able to meet the challenge that we have seen, something to that effect, just to give a little bit of recognition to the unprecedented condition of, the economy, health, wealth, families, et cetera, in these times. Something like that is, we need to think about giving some nourishment back too. So if and when, and I hope it's appropriate everywhere, but if we can, maybe we could do something along that line.
Is anyone opposed to that? I'm certainly in favor of it.
If I could ask for the
Oh, no.
I can be, well, no, I can only, to only some extent can I be a creative writer. Is there a specific area you would like to commend MDF on for their work during these unprecedented times? One or two examples I could pull out that the committee would like to highlight?
Well, just right from the holster, okay? Right from the hip. On MDF, I know that one of their premier things for us in the education and awareness of our role that we play. They've been hamstrung, whatever the word is. And so they really did make quite an effort to do those briefings. I think they had at least two sessions. And I tried to get to, doesn't matter what I did, but it matters what the rest of you did. No, I'm just kidding. I think that was their, really good attempt at keeping us briefed and just trying to substitute what really boots on the ground and hands-on tours try to establish and accomplish. So, I mean, that took a whole different venue to accomplish. So that could be one thing to add for them.
Representative Geiger.
Mr. Chair, I would add just the economic reports they give the legislature as a whole have been invaluable, and I'm sure not easy to do under the current conditions, but it really allows all of us to look to the future about how we rebuild as we come out of a pandemic, and just an increasing awareness of how workforce rises to the top as our issue. So I think they've done, I just found those three presentations to be remarkably useful.
So, Ms. Olson, I'm certainly hearing the emphasis on the legislative education, the Policy Leaders Academy, and the pivoting to provide a trusted source of information. Excellent. Are we good here? Okay, let's move on to DECD. So the same question regarding DECD, is anyone thinking that they would like the letter to say anything less than that the department is operating inside of its statutory authority and is achieving success and effectiveness within that? Seeing none. Do we have any questions? And Ms. Reed?
Mr. Goodman.
Thank you. And Ms. Bowie and Mr. Whitney, would you have anything to say in this area, or you, just for the other? Okay, so we'll say goodbye. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time today. And there we go. And Mr. Goodman is here. Were there any other questions for Mr. Goodman? We received no questions. We had a very thorough departmental, well, you all were there. So when we heard from the department, is there anything else we wish to say in the letter? I think I'm not seeing any questions. It feels like is that enough information for you, Ms. Olson?
Yes, the letter can just say that they're operating within their statutory authority.
Okay, and that's a pretty common thing for these things, right?
Yes, and I think you all saw samples of letters to that effect.
Great. Welcome back, Mr. Goodman. I think we've seen you a couple times now, so I hope you're settling into your new job well, and back to Maine well. So excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And at that point, we are done with the GEA reports. And Representative Bernard, did you want to introduce did you introduce yourself? Did I miss that? I might have. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Sue Bernard, And I'm in Augusta today, but I represent Caribou, New Sweden, and Westmanland, which is district number 149. Thanks very much, Senator.
And now let's begin with the quasi-independent reviews. And Ms. Olson?
Had to take a minute before I started. Not sure I can put more money in the mute jar today. Okay, so for the quasi-independent agency reviews pursuant to Title V, Section 12021, the committee received the materials online, and I will note that apparently for Maine Technology Institute, those material links were broken, maybe, or not working, which I discovered this morning, so I sent those out. I know that there is a fair amount here for the committee to have reviewed, but we do have individuals from some of the agencies available with us today who could answer any questions that the committee might have at this point. And again, the committee is determining whether the quasi-independent agency reviews the quasi-independent agency's policies and procedures regarding procurements, contributions, and their sort of travel entertainment policies comply with the statutory requirements for such policies, and then to look at their reported procurements and contributions to see if they align with their written policies. And then from there, based off of the committee's evaluation, deciding if their policy and procedures are within statutory guidelines and their reported information is, or if not, a letter can be drafted to those agencies asking them to make any necessary updates. So I'll pause and look to the committee for what they would like to do next or how they would like to proceed. I do see one hand.
I have to give a quarter to the mute jar. Representative Pebworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What are we going to spend our money on? Who are we donating it to? I saw no red flags as I was going through. The drawback of comparing reports is that when I got to the MTI report, they're not providing nearly as much information about procurements as other entities are. They are not required to do so, but it's very hard once we've seen really excellent examples that give a lot of information, which I think is helpful for us as a committee, to not want that from them as well. So I sort of throw that out to see what people think about us asking for more in the future.
Representative Austin.
I have a question. I just don't know if this is the appropriate time. I just don't want to miss the opportunity to ask a question and to make a suggestion. So I can wait a little bit. I just don't close anything out, okay?
No, I'm not planning on closing any. Feel free to ask the question, and we'll. I think we're working our way through this process. This is new for all of us, except for possibly you.
Yeah, well, you know, that doesn't always. My question is actually on the procedure of procurement, and that's why I'm not sure this is appropriate here. Let me just give a very brief example of why I'm bringing this up. I had a company, a substantial company here in Gray, and there was a bid. Like I said, this may not apply here, but there was a bid they made to the state, and they didn't realize until it was too late that the bid could not come in email. It has to be hard copy, and they were right at the hard line. And so their their bid was disregarded. And unfortunately, obviously they were disappointed, but they followed through to see where the bid went. And the bid did go to a much more substantial amount. And so I've sort of been carrying that nugget of concern around for I don't know, some time. And I just don't know if this is any way appropriate, but I can't imagine this in this day and age, but maybe somebody's going to tell us why, that a bid could not be put through in that manner, some other manner than actual snail mail hard copy. So if it's not good today and not here, well, maybe someday.
Thank you. And Ms. Olson, let's just check in on that. Are we challenging any, or on the table is the question of are their policies sufficient? Are these the right policies? It's not that. Is it that they have policies and they're following them?
It is that they have policies that align with the statutory requirements.
Okay.
And are they then following them?
Okay.
Reported by what they've given to the committee. And I mean, like I said, we do have representatives from a couple of the agencies with us. They could maybe speak to whether or not they can receive procurements by email. If you had that, if you wanted, I mean, this is the point, is you can talk to the quasi-independent agencies and sort of ask them a little bit more about their policies. So
Representative Austin, was there a specific quasi-independent agency that you wanted to hear from?
Oh my gosh.
So I just, Mr. Norbert is in the attendee list for the Maine Venture Fund, or the Small Enterprise Growth Board, Maine Venture Fund, and also FAME. So he was present to speak to both. And then we also have Mr. Jordan from the Mid-Coast Regional Redevelopment Authority, and Mr. Whitney will have to forgive me. I think he's here for MTI, but he will correct me if I'm wrong.
Why don't we bring them all in? Great.
Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Norbert,
Good morning.
Mr. Jordan, and Mr. Whitney.
Morning.
Did you hear the question from Representative Austin in terms of bid processes that require online or paper submissions only? Did you want to rephrase, Representative Austin? I get in trouble when I try to paraphrase someone else, so I try to avoid doing that.
You're doing a good job, Senator. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you'd have to probably be generalized, and maybe you can just address it as to how it pertains to you. But I'm trying to remember, this was a significant, either an electrical or a fire safety. It was a significant bid that would have gone to a different department than you folks. But when I heard the word procurement just the other day, it reminded me that I wondered is it treated the same throughout state government, or do you do it differently? Or can you address it in any way that would be helpful to me? Thank you.
Who would like to go? Would anyone like to go after that? Mr. Norbert?
I don't want to go after it, actually, because I again don't know the answer. But I am emailing my contacts and trying to come up with an answer. So maybe we could defer to another, and maybe I'll have an answer by the time they're done.
Mr. Whitney?
Yes, thanks. So MTI is not that prickly. We'd accept paper copies or electronic ones.
Yep. And is that Mr. Jordan?
Yes, and let me introduce Christine Logan, who is the Executive Director of the Mid-Coast Regional Redevelopment as well.
Welcome.
Good morning.
At the authority, we do allow electronic submissions But each time that we go out to bid, the bid document itself will describe what are eligible forms of bid submission and how to contact us to provide a response to the bid.
So thank you. Representative Austin, my familiarity with grant applications, with state grant applications, I recall, having to get to the third floor across and turn it in and if you're a minute late, you're late. And if you didn't get that stamp, there would be tears that it would happen on in that hallway.
And I can appreciate that. And I guess that's exactly what I'm trying to address. Is that necessary in every case? I can understand some of the documents might be highly detailed, fairly large, and maybe that makes it not possible. I'm not that familiar with it, but I think these folks, probably a lot, like a lot of ours that do a lot of state work, they'd always been ahead. They'd always been, way ahead of time and never probably saw that fine print, because when they saw it and it got rejected, that's when they got a real education. So I'm just trying to, maybe add a positive spin to this if it's possible. So I appreciate everybody's help. Thank you. Oh, and I add, it did cost Maine more money. So thank you.
Mr. Norbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am happy to report that FAME also accepts bids by email. And I'm checking with our Maine Venture Fund, but I can always get back to the committee on them.
That's good. Did good.
Thank you. And Ms. Olson, as I recall, a part of our question in all of this is the paperwork requirement. So part of the measure of these is like a overly burdensome paperwork. No, I'm saying that wrong.
That was from the GEAs, which I realized doing them together on the same day can get a little mushed together.
Okay, so
not to say that having this conversation isn't useful. It's just that specific phrasing was for the GEAs.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns for our guests today? And thank you all, by the way, for your service to the state of Maine. Representative Hassenfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to express to Norbert how pleased I am in how organized and well thought out all of the FAME documents, reports, and testimony is. I find that extremely helpful, and I thank you so much for having a great program at FAME there, doing wonderful things and making it very easy on us. So thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome, Representative, and thank you for your kind words.
Seeing no other questions, I appreciate you taking the time out of the day today to be with us. So, Representative Hassenfuss.
I just want to echo what Representative Pebworth said earlier, but I found it helpful to reports that would at least give sort of some summary of what the procurement was for. Like, for instance, I know there was one that said it was for pulling weeds on the airport, things like that. So what that money is being spent on. And I know the FAME report also had that. So I would just want to echo what Pebworth said, that if in the future these can have at least some summary of what that expense is used for, that would help us to just kind of better run through the summaries.
Thank you. Representative Roberts, can you take over chair? I'm being called in to defend a bill.
Absolutely. Okay, so Ms. Olson, where are we? What are the next steps now? Oh, I don't see any other hands up.
So the next step is really for the committee to just give me direction. Of course, you know, we have any last questions for anyone that's still here. And then, or for those, there are 2 agencies not present, I can send follow-up emails, or we can invite them in later as well. But otherwise, it's really at this point, the committee to just tell me if, and this could be as the group as a whole, or you can speak to an agency individually. But if there's anything that you would like, that you feel that the agency needs to do or to change about their policies or the way that they are reporting on this information pursuant to statute, that we would like drafted in a letter, sort of asking them, maybe when you submit it next time, could you please make sure you're following this statutory provision? So that's the direction I would need from the committee at this point to draft the letters. And again, like the GEAs, all drafted letters come back before the committee before being sent.
Where's Representative Hepworth? She's not on. Representative Hassenfuss, were you intending that for that to be to everyone? You wanted that included?
I'm thinking more specifically at MTI. I think that was the only one I saw that didn't actually do that. But the letter could be the same to everybody. Say thank you to all of those who did include, you know, a summary of what, you know, the funds went to, and for those who didn't, you know, we find it very helpful. Am I correct, Ms. Olson, that statute does not technically require that, but nevertheless, I think just a friendly ask for that would be helpful.
Is there anyone that has any objections to including kind of the wording that Representative Hassenfuss put in? Basically, if you put it in, great. If not, if you could, it's always appreciated. No?
I can, sorry.
I was looking for hands, but I don't see any, and I don't see any head shakings either, so.
So I'll just, for the selection of vendors, so it says to the extent possible, consistent with the entities authorizing law, the policies and procedures for the selection of vendors for procurements exceeding $10,000 that were not competitively procured. They would require that written justification for and evidence of approvals are maintained on file for 5 years. Doesn't necessarily indicate, yeah, has to be maintained on file. And that's just for the ones that were not competitively procured.
Yeah, and so I think that they probably do maintain those on file, but instead of us following up and saying, hey, you didn't put in your report this other information, please now submit that to us. I think if we just have it initially, we can read it in 5 minutes and, okay, yes, that makes sense, and we don't need to delve any deeper. Now, I don't think we need to go so far as request from MTI any of those records, but I think moving forward, if they just put a little summary in, that would prevent us from ever, you know, thinking we need to request that.
Okay. Anyone in disagreement? No, I'm not seeing any. Ms. Olson, does that give you everything you need there? Ish.
Yes, and again, I'm just going to note, while I'm happy to include the suggestion that in the ongoing report provided to the legislature, the list of procurements exceeding $10,000 in the preceding year for which competitive procurement was waived under the policies that they adopted, including procurements exceeding $10,000 that were made under contracts previously entered into for which competitive procurement was not required. The list must include the names of the vendors and costs associated with those procurements. So it doesn't, statutory authority does not require a description. It only requires the names and the costs. So while I'm happy to write that the committee would like to see the additional information, that is outside of the statutory requirement.
Yes, and I think that's fine. Make clear, okay, though this is not required.
Representative Hepworth, you could wait to be called on. Representative Hepworth, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate it, Representative Hassenfuss, that we're on the same page. Because it was just MTI and because it isn't required, it might be helpful to just send that specific suggestion to that organization that it is a friendly ask. It's not a request. It's just a suggestion. It would be helpful for us as a committee to know more. But I can see that it might introduce confusion if we're sending that letter to the other entities who are complying beyond expectation.
And I will just note, these are separate letters. So while the committee can give me direction on all six as a whole, they are drafted as separate letters.
Mr. Whitney.
Yeah, thank you for calling on me. I just wanted to say that MTI is happy to comply with that request, and I've already reached out to Bill Norbert at FAME and asked him to share his documents with me so that I can see what the model looks like so that we can more closely imitate it in the future.
Okay, so it's sounding like we want to kind of just put the suggestion in MTI's letter and then leave the rest as good. I'm not seeing any hands otherwise. Okay. Ms. Olson?
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you. I have the direction. No, that's good. I have the direction that I need. And just for Mr. Whitney and everyone else who's perhaps listening or interested, all of these reports are on the committee materials webpage. So you can go see all 6 examples to see kind of what they are. They do look different. And all of the policies and procedures, just so everyone is also aware, those are now posted on the committee materials webpage. So but yeah, no, I think that is everything that I have for the committee today. So unless there's something else the committee would like from me or has any questions, I am
good. Thank our guests, and Ms. Reed, you can probably split them out, and thank you for joining us today. Okay, so there's no language review or anything like that? We're all set there.
Yes, no language review today.
We don't have anything else on the schedule for today that I'm aware of. Everything's going through. No? Okay. Well, guess what I'll entertain? Motion to adjourn. Anyone can move? All in favor? Okay. We will see everyone later.